Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about the muscle tissue, the second basic tissue of the human body. So in the muscle tissue, we have three types of muscle tissue. The first one is the cardiac muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue, and the smooth muscle tissue. So onto the skeletal muscle tissue. So you will have to know for histology, you have to know what it looks like. You have to be able to differentiate skeletal muscle tissue from cardiac from smooth muscle. So for one of the first thing you need to know about skeletal muscle tissue is that these muscle tissues are attached to bones. They're found on bones, like the bones of your legs, your limbs, your face. These makes them very different from cardiac muscle tissue, for example. And then another thing is that they have what we call striations. Striations are these lines that you're seeing here, these lines. When we get to the muscle physiology, we're going to talk more about it. But these striations are basically the lines that you're going to see. And anytime you see anything that has striations, because we're also going to see this in cardiac muscle tissue, is that it does a lot of work. All right, so it does a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of contraction and relaxation, stretching going on. And another unique thing that you're going to find with skeletal muscle tissue is that their nuclei are peripheral. All right, so one cell is going to have more than one nucleus. That's what we're talking about. And then usually we are used to seeing the nucleus right smack in the middle of the cell. But in this case, they're pushed to the side. All right, they're not going to be in the middle of the cell. They're going to be pushed to the side. So this is why we say they are peripheral nuclei. And they are also going to be under voluntary control. And what we use the skeletal muscle tissue for, we use them for movement, for facial expression, and so on. So the next type of tissue is going to be the cardiac muscle tissue. So here they're only going to be found only in one place in the entire body, and that's going to be in the heart. All right, they're found only in the walls of the heart. And this is different from skeletal muscle tissue in that it has something called intercalated disc. So you're going to see these lines, these darker lines. I don't want you to get confused and say, oh, these are striations, which are the darker, which are the same one that are kind of seen in skeletal. But no, these darker horizontal lines are actually known as intercalated disc. You're not going to see this in any other muscle tissue, and this is because these intercalated discs are responsible for the electrical conductivity of the heart. I always use the example, if someone is being defibrillated, or someone's heart stopped rather, they're going to be defibrillated. If your leg muscle stops working, you're not going to shock it with a defibrillator, right? With an AED. So makes the cardiac muscle tissue very unique, which we're not going to see in skeletal muscle. We're not going to see in smooth muscle. So if you see intercalated disc being mentioned, or you're looking at a slide, a picture, a histological picture, and you see intercalated disc, this is going to be the clue that this is cardiac muscle tissue. All right. And we're also going to see that they are branched. All right. These muscle cells are going to be branched, unlike the skeletal muscle tissue, and they're going to be under involuntary control. And they also have striations. All right, these they have striations. If you take a look here, their striations are not as defined as the one that you have in skeletal muscle. So a lot of students are expecting the same one that they've seen in skeletal, and they're like, oh well, I kind of see it faded striations. Yeah, so it's not as prominent as the one you see in skeletal muscle tissue, but it's there. Example, you sleep on, like, let's say a sweater, and you wake up, and then, like, you're gonna have those marks on your skin. So like I said, they're under involuntary control, and their job is to contract to pump blood. Okay. And the last type of muscle tissue is going to be smooth muscle tissue. And one of the reasons we call it smooth is because it does not have any striations. So Cardiac and skeletal muscle tissue will have striations. It will have those lines, but smooth muscle will not. All right. And another thing is you're gonna find these on organs, in organs like blood vessels, the digestive tract. This is where you're gonna find smooth muscle. They're involuntary control, meaning, example, if your stomach starts growling, right, in the middle of class, it's not really something you can control. You didn't cause it, and you can't stop it. All right, it's involuntary. And so, like I said, they don't have striations. So one thing I put this picture up because a lot of students might look at the cross-sectional view and say, well, I can't really see these lines. These lines are not striations. All right, so this is a cross-sectional view of the smooth muscle tissue. And another thing is look at the nuclei. Look at the nuclei in smooth muscle, and their nuclei will be elongated. We use the term spindle shaped to describe them. And the job of smooth muscle tissue for propelling food, moving food, once you swallow your food, your esophagus all the way down to, your anus, the food is gonna move down with the help of smooth muscle. All right. The smooth muscle in your stomach contracting to basically break down the food. You have smooth muscle in your bladder, helping to propel and move urine out. So this is going to be the end of the muscle tissue, histological muscle tissue. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.